Right, so tonight we're going to work on the actual bag. We're going to do some kind of different values for ins and outs, and dark and light, and then we will put the texture on. So let's start it that way. Let's try to do, I have, by the way, 2 brushes. I might need a smaller one, third one, but we'll see. And I have burnt umber and titanium buff. So let's start with the part that is in the back, darker. And I'm going to do more like a glaze. So it's not heavy paint and not too watery. So it's like a medium tone, medium consistency. You can still see the dark. That's the only reason I'm doing this. It's just I want to still, if possible, be able to see the dark underneath. But if I can, then that's okay too. But I will try to do some glazing and we'll see how it goes. There's a hint of red in there too. But let's just focus for now on putting some fold, just show more like folds in there. Yeah, that's better. Okay. And because it's a glaze, it will dry darker. Now with glazing, we have to be careful how much water we're putting first of all, and we don't want to go over it too many times because it will lift. Gonna go a little bit darker now at this point, just a little bit down here because it's darker. I need to clean this a bit and get that really dark burnt umber in here, and also down here. Okay, that's good. Let's start mixing a little bit of the titanium buff. So I'm trying to add a bit of highlights where, just a bit, not much. This is not a lot of highlight in here, just a bit of difference in the values. Because the bag is highlighted, I believe, from the right. And I'm just going to start. This is the base for what we're doing. Take a little bit of titanium buff. And now I'm going to start darkening this part. This is quite dark in here, so at the bottom. And over here too. We might have to use some black eventually in certain areas. And the more layers I put, now you see the color of the burnt umber is showing more of a dark color. But the more I put layers over this, the dark of the burnt umber will look more reddish because I'm covering what's underneath. The more layer I put on top, the more I cover the initial dark layer I have underneath. Okay, I have to be very careful here. I don't want to add too many too many layers, because I want this to dry first, and then I'll go over it one more time. gonna let it dry and then we'll come back to this. I'm gonna stop for a minute. All right, I'm gonna start highlighting a little bit, but I am highlighting in a glaze still. I'm still glazing, so nothing, no thick paint over here. And let's see how it goes. We just have to pay attention to our to the different subtle change in values. Don't press too hard on your brush when you're glazing. And then we have a darker part here, slightly darker. And then I'm going to go darker now. So I'm paying attention to the subtle difference in values. Okay. So I'm highlighting slowly using glazing technique more than, this is like now kind of a medium tone. Even where there's a strong highlight, I'm using kind of a glazing technique. I'm not worried too much about the consistency or the thickness of the paint when it comes to the dark areas. It's more where there is a highlight. This is where I want to make sure that the paint is not too thick where there's a highlight, because white is flat. It's gonna just make everything harder for me to put when I start adding the texture. So if there is a thick layer of white where the texture is gonna go, it's harder to put that texture in there. Because white is flat, it's gonna take over. But when you're working with dark, it's easier to cover that and put over it the texture with a brush. So you see, when I put a strong highlight, I'm usually glazing this. I try to glaze it on. But when it's dark, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a glaze. But I am trying to do the whole thing in glaze. And because it's a bag that has texture, it's awesome. You don't have to make it too perfect. Your brushstroke can be just messy as long as you're getting the right value. Now this is kind of almost just titanium buff at this point here. Those strong highlights that I'm adding. Again, I'm going to take only titanium buff. See how it's drying darker, but it still has a texture. That's because I'm glazing the color on. I'm not using a very hard, thick paint. Okay, let's let it dry. Come back to it. All right, So I have a round brush here, and it's a good round brush. And I'm going to start adding some texture. And also the paint is not that thick because otherwise it will blob. So I'm putting some water in here. Let's take this and see. Okay, let's try.
You're doing the lines now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of those.
Yes.
Some of the lines, yeah.
Some of the lines, and what color is that?
Just titanium buff.
Oh, just okay.
Yeah, but the titanium buff, the paint has a bit of water in it, so it's not too thick.
Nice.
It says just titanium buff, or you just put more?
I think it's just I don't know if I have a bit of the. Okay, let's put. Okay, you know what? Let's put some burnt umber in there, so it's not just titanium buff, because then I will have room to highlight more. Okay. So this is titanium buff, but there's more titanium buff than the burnt umber.
Oh, God.
Because I want this to dry darker. These lines I'm putting in here, or dots, or whatever the texture I'm putting, I want it to dry darker, because I want to be able to highlight slowly some areas. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of just titanium buff. I might have to, in some areas, I might have to add more, maybe a bit of white with the titanium buff. The strong highlighted areas. So I'm going across with the movement of the bag for now. And at the bottom, it's really like I can't see any kind of weave in there. Now I'm going to go over, so I'm paying attention to the weave, in what direction it's going. This is burnt umber now. Just burnt umber. And it's a glaze. Because I was highlighting, I lost some of the darks. I'm just gonna put them back. Just a hint. This is now both titanium buff and brown. And I glazed my color, my paint, so it's kind of thin. And I'm just going to give the edge a bit of, what did we say it's called? Fraying?
Fringe.
Fringe?
Mm.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's go with the medium tone. So I will check. I will do one on the bag. It's on this area here, right there, and we'll see how it goes. If it's right value, then I'll continue, or if not, I will adjust.
Can you zoom in a little bit, if you can?
Sure. All right. I think it needs to be highlighted more. This line I'm trying to put in there. I'm going to highlight it more. So I'm putting more titanium buff in the brown, and it's kind of watery. Not too much. I mean, as long as you can, because the reason I'm using, first of all, for the two reasons, I watered down my color. I want the brush to flow easily. And the other thing is I want the line to dry darker. Trying to go with the movement of the bag. Now I'm getting to the darker part, and of course, because it's darker part of the bag, because it goes down, I need to darken my lines too. That's the hardest part, because you are trying to make them darker, but at the same time, we need to see them. I'm not going to worry about the highlight now. I'm not going to change the color of the paint I'm using for now, because I will highlight it after. Highlight the part that has more light. Okay, I need to go darker. Actually, Okay, that's a good color. I think I went a little bit too far with the highlights over here, but that's okay. We'll go over that in a minute. Actually, right now, I'm gonna start adding a little bit more of the titanium buff. Again, a little bit more of the titanium buff, water. More, please. I'm making the lines a little bit wider because I don't want the gaps in between where where the darks are to be too wide. So I'm making the line wider. So when I put the dark in between, the gaps are not too big. I'm just adjusting the value right now of those lines. These lines here are a little bit lighter. Because I highlighted this area, I need to highlight a little bit the lines that go down as well. Now, I might need to highlight a little bit more. Maybe right here. Those gaps are still big, so I'm just gonna kind of, with my brush, camouflage them a bit, make them smaller. Okay, let's try to put some darks in between now. I'm just gonna take burnt umber. Some of them are really small and some are big. Especially the ones in the back are small. And it's a glaze too. It's not, the paint is not very heavy. So I'm just trying to see the shape of those darks, because they're dark and they're against light. They will show more. I'm using a glaze again of the titanium buff and adjusting the shape and the value of the darks I've put in there. Because you don't want the darks to look like they're all the same size and same value. So some of them will be darker, some of them will be lighter, some of them will be bigger, smaller. It depends on the movement of the bag. And soften the edge here, because there's like kind of a halo of texture. Anything that looks too strong in here. Should be kind of softened. Now, once I'm done and I look at it and I feel that it's maybe too light, then I can glaze over it a color or a combination of burnt umber and titanium buff, put it over to tone it down and make it more softer than what it is. If I find like now, okay, now I'm not, I think it's dry. I'll show you right now. Like this is too light in here, right here. A bit too light in here too. So I'm gonna glaze some soft burnt umber, meaning that it has a bit of titanium buff in it. It's a glaze. It's a glaze.
Are you doing anything where they cross over to show the in and out of the
No,
weed?
no,
No.
just ignoring that. I'm more focusing on the hint of, trying to focus on the hint of the weave, than rather than really getting it to look exactly the same. Now, where I put a glaze to darken this area here, I'm going to take just kind of a titanium buff mixed with a bit of burnt umber and a glaze, kind of, and then put one here, one there, hint, because those weaves are higher and they're catching more light in the darker area. I don't want to lose the darks, but at the same time I want to show that some of these, the weave is the higher one, the one that's is showing through even in the darkest area. Hint. I'm not connecting them. Hint.
Very nice.
Thank you. Trying to pay more attention to the movement of the weave, more than trying to make it look perfect.
It looks perfect.
When it's not perfect, yeah. It looks better when it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it starts to move this way. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this. This is, I'm not doing it right now, but watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Watching is the
technique and that.
I cannot work the same time.
Yeah, no.
Certainly not like this kind of detail. You know what? You put on a good show on TV and then you do this, you know, you just kind of relax to it. Like that.
Right. I would. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you kind of work through it section by section, right?
Yes. It's more actually what's important more than the weave itself. Even if the weave is not perfect, it's the movement of the weave, the direction of the line.
Yeah, that's why the credit card's not going to work on this.
Yes, because it's good. Yeah. Yeah.
There'll be another project. But no, you're right. I'm looking at it and seeing the way the weave is moving with the bag.
Yes.
I'd rather do it by hand actually to get that feeling.
I think that's the only way.
Yeah, no. And it's relaxing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, certainly relaxing watching you.
It is.
I'm darkening a bit now here, my lines, using more burnt umber with titanium buff. And by the time I'm done, if this is not dark enough, I can glaze it. Just glaze it down a lot darker. Okay. Yeah, definitely. It goes a bit darker. At first, the lines, when you put the lines, the first layer, they look funny. But then when you start adding highlights and texture, darks and lights, different values, it becomes, they will look better. Now, another thing, when we get to the part where it's dark, you will see less of those lines. You'll see more of texture like this. In there. Not lines anymore, because the lines are only where in the front. The back, because the bag itself is turning in, you see less lines and you see more dots than lines. Texture, like you don't see lines anymore because it's turning. Otherwise, if you put lines here, it will look flat. Some lines are going to be more pronounced. Part of the lines, not the whole. Part of them are going to be more pronounced in certain areas, and some of them will be less because of the way the bag is moving. When it's higher up, it catches more light. When it's lower down, it doesn't have, you don't see those lines. So what I am doing right now is I am highlighting or putting the lines slowly. Meaning using more of different values, but slowly. Adding those values slowly. So now I'm going to go to where there is a strong highlight. I have more of the titanium buff, and it's mixed, of course, with the brown, but lighter. And I'm going to come here, and some of these I'm going to start showing Okay, so doing this now. And I will be highlighting these more, but not now. I'm going to go slowly, adding highlights where I see them, where I see highlights, and again more. So I am adding my highlights in different stages, not strong right away. We're dealing with a lot of things here. We're dealing with texture, we're dealing with pattern, highlights, darks, all at the same time. This is what we did, more like when we did the one at the beach
Shawl.
with a shawl.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing those lines irregular on purpose. I don't want them to look too perfect. So eventually what I'm going to do, after I highlight where I see the highlights, where I see them, and I put this, some of them I'm going to leave. I'm not going to touch. So I'm not going to highlight the whole thing, or fix the whole thing, or paint the whole thing, I should say. I'm going to take more. This is titanium buff. That's why I like to use glaze, because then I would not get this strong. This is what I mean by hint. So it's not perfect. It's just kind of, and some areas are highlighted more than others. And then I will put some darks as well, eventually, like I did here. Okay, because we are running out of time, I want to show you the darks now. Glaze, it has, those darks have both titanium buff and brown, burnt umber. I might have to put a bit of black in there. Touch, very, very small amount. There. I added a bit of black. I'm gonna go back. After I do this, and soften these darks that I put in there to get that the weave is over the dark is behind the weave. But because we're losing some of these darks in the areas where we are highlighting, I put them back and then I soften them. And then I put the weave over them, over the darks. Otherwise they'll come forward. They will look funny. It's easier in here because this is dark already. But once we highlight areas like these, then we will have to add the darks on and then kind of soften them after. So this bag here, this part is connected to this, to here. There's not a big difference. Only here. Only here. There's not a big difference in the values. So the way I've done it right now, it looks like there's a edge here. There's no edge. This is one piece from the back to the front. Okay. All right, let's put just a bit of more kind of a darn, I'm losing some of the darks in here. All right. This should dry. Once it's dry, I am going to go back and glaze it darker. I went too far with the highlights. All right, I'm gonna just go back.
Looks very nice.
No, thank you.
Looks great.
Thank you.
So when you did the first layers on the bag, sorry, you're still recording.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Did you leave the background, like you can see the background through it?
Yes. So I glazed. Slowly.
Okay.
Okay. So first layer was not too dark, you know, just kind of maybe this one here, right there. When you glaze, you allow the color in the background to show through when the paint is dry. Then I glaze the highlight slowly again, more glazing over slowly. So using texture, I don't care about. I didn't want to make it look smooth. Yeah. I want this to look like it has texture. It's easier when I start putting these things on top. If the bottom part has texture, because also when you're not blending too much, because you cannot really blend that much when you're glazing. There's no room for blending. If you blend and you want to make it soft, then it will lift. The color will lift because you're using water or a glazing medium, whatever you're using. So there's no room for blending. So you will have texture. And that's good. That's what we want. We want texture. We could have left it just like this and it'll be fine. So, yeah. Yes, the first layer is a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 layers, I'm not sure. But when you watch the video, you will see there's texture in there. There's like glazing. That's why I'm glazing the highlights slowly, the values slowly.
Looks very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's great.